Okay, well, the two other things we want to mention before we round it out. First, the Vikings lost to the Lions today. That's hilarious. Happy we get to see the Vikings twice in the last 5 games of the season. And then secondly, let's just talk a little bit about the rest of the season.
Yep.
You know, we have the Packers on Sunday Night Football next week. Kill me. And then we have the Vikings, which is another primetime game slot
It's
at the 5:15.
Yeah, that's a Monday.
Yes, it is a Monday night game. Yeah, it's a Monday night game. And then we go Seahawks, Giants, and then Vikings once again. How do you think we're going to get through this stretch here? I find it kind of interesting. I don't think we're going to beat the Packers,
no.
but
I think they can take 2 games. Or actually 3. They can take 3 games. They can take the Giants, they can take the Seahawks, and they can get one from the Vikings. You know? But I think
really, you're only giving them one from the Vikings.
I'm going to give them one from the Vikings. I think they'll split with the Vikings this year. And I think that's where they will end up. So they'll finish with 7 wins this year, I think.
Yeah, I think we'll lose the Packers.
Yeah.
Hot take. But the bigger thing is I think that we're actually going to probably win out from there. And I think, honestly, the game that we're probably most likely to lose is the one against the Seahawks, because I know the Seahawks are not good this year, but the Seahawks also have a lot of better players than the Bears do. So if it just gets to one of those games where the talent takes over, you know, I think that the Seahawks could definitely beat us.
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel completely comfortable saying that the Bears can take both from the Vikings, because I figure one of them, Kirk Cousins, is going to have a bad game, and one of them, Kirk Cousins, is going to have a good game. I think that's basically what I chalk it up to. It's a coin flip in each one, and yeah, I think the Bears can take one from them. Obviously, the Giants are kind of in a team that's in about as poor shape as the Bears, and yeah. The Seahawks is an interesting one, of course. Yeah, they do have some great players: Lockett, Metcalf, Russell Wilson's back, maybe not playing super great, but at the same time, man, they've just found a way not to score points, very similar to the Bears this year. So yeah. That could be a stunning 13-6 game.
That's a real good point. Is that at and we're at Seattle, so that's the one issue. I think that what will probably happen, the Vikings have only beat Matt Nagy one time. It was when we had Nick Foles at quarterback. Whenever we had Mitch Trubisky, he would just go off against the Vikings. Now that we have Justin Fields, man, I can't see us dropping that game. Matt Nagy just has the Vikings defense edge. Like, I don't know what it is, but Matt Nagy, he wakes up and sees red on Vikings and Lions days. The Giants, if we lose to the Giants, man, this podcast is over. We are canceling the podcast because there's a solid chance too. Daniel Jones is injured. I don't know the extent of his injury, but we could see the Glenninator once again in the final stretch of our season, like we did last time. How many times have we faced Glennon?
If we lose a game against Glennon, I mean,
yeah,
you fire Nagy on the spot. That's what you do if you lose a game.
Seriously. And I feel like the Bears played. I want to say the Bears have played Glennon like each of the last 3 years, which is kind of funny.
That is weird.
Which is
because I can't even remember what team he was on last year, but I do remember.
He was on the Jags last year, so we got lucky and we drew him on the Jags. This year, we could see him on the Giants. I think we saw Glennon. Maybe not. I can't remember exactly, but I know that we've faced off against. I think. I don't know. I could be wrong. We've faced off against Glennon though a couple times, and he is just still awful. That's still like the height of his career was still probably the league, Pittsburgh Steelers. Yeah, probably the Pittsburgh Steelers game where he ended up upsetting them when they're actually fairly good. But yeah, it's kind of hilarious at this point.
Man. It's going to be an interesting run out to the rest of the season, though. This Bears team never fails to still be entertaining. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's That is certainly for sure. Okay, get this. I just looked it up. So in 2018, Mike Glennon played on the Arizona Cardinals. Okay, and we played the Cardinals. I'm almost certain he took some snaps in that game.
Okay.
In 2019, he played for the Raiders. We played the Raiders. I don't think he actually played that game though.
That would have been the
in 2020,
London game, right? I think that was the London game.
Yes, that was such a bad game. In 2020, he played for the Jaguars, and now he's playing for the Giants. Man, this guy's just looking for revenge on the Bears. He's like waiting for his opportunity.
He waits for
he's
the
probably
schedule,
sabotaging
waits for the schedule
starting
to get released
quarterback
every year, and he's like, he calls out every team that's got to play against him.
Yeah, seriously. All right, before we shut out the show, I just want your take right now. If the season were to end today, who would you be hiring as the Bears head coach? Because I've talked myself into Dable since our last podcast episode.
You've talked yourself into Dable. You know what? That past Cowboys game wasn't super hot for Kellen Moore.
And that's been a couple games now.
Oh man, do I go the Sean McVay route and go for the young genius, or do I go for the proven guy? You know what? Just to keep it separate for right now, I think I'll stick with Kellen Moore. I think I'd still be very happy with him. But I would be lying if I said that what I've seen the past couple of weeks hasn't been completely great. You know, especially too the point that you raised on our last podcast about just how many weapons he has to work with there in Dallas is it's kind of nuts, and especially when you compare that to Dabble in Buffalo, where you are looking mainly at Stephon Diggs.
And you have Emmanuel Sanders, who somehow at the age of like 35 is like 600 yards.
Yeah, go ahead.
Seriously. Yeah, The Bills have played some like scary close games. Like they nearly lost they did lose to the Jaguars, which is just like, how did that even happen? Josh Allen was breathing down Josh Allen's neck. that game, I remember it was like the first time players of the same name not only got one. Josh Allen, the edge rusher, got a sack on Josh Allen, but he also got a pick off of him too.
Nuts.
So kind of hilarious. But they've steadily rebound. They lost the Colts 41-15, November 21st. Colts kind of had a stretch there where they're playing really well. But the thing is, like, the more I think about it, whenever someone mentions to me like, okay, Ryan Day, I'm like, okay, or Harbaugh, in my head, I'm always like, you're projecting a college offense to work in the NFL. And with Harbaugh, you actually have experience showing that it probably his offense didn't really work in the NFL for a long stretch of time. Most of that the Super Bowl runs they had were built almost solely off of Vic Fangio's defenses. I mean, those 49ers defenses were crazy at that time. But like the key element that I want to say with Dable is, and comparing him to college coaches, is like, you're looking to project a college offense that has worked to the NFL. But with Dable, you know that his offense works in the NFL at this point, and you're refusing to project his NFL offense to work on another NFL team. Like, it seems like there's a little bit of a gap of logic there. I'm hoping for Dable at this point. If we get Kellen Moore, though, I'll still be happy, but more so looking at Dable. Joe Brady just got fired today, which is kind of crazy to think about considering he had 4 head coaching interviews last year.
Yeah, nuts. What I will say is this: I just don't think that not that a college coach should never be the root for a team. I think there's certain instances where it does make sense. But I think for this Bears team right now, that's not the route that they need to go.
More often than not, they don't work.
I do think that the Bears need some very kind of structural changes. I think a lot of those changes need to happen higher up in the office rather than a huge shakeup at the just coaching level with some kind of new inventive scheme or something, some kind of new fresh face. With the exception being Kellen Moore, which of course he would bring his inventive schemes over. But I think the shakeup needs to happen at the top for this Bears organization. I still think that the coaching staff, or at least that of Matt Nagy, needs to go. But I think that if they go for someone like Dabble, who maybe is considered a more conservative option, if you can even say that, but I still think that would be a very responsible and good hire for this team to go with.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, man. Well, this was a longer post game than we expected, but we thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening. I think we'll have another podcast up around Thursday this week, I would assume.
Should be.
So look out for one there. Again, if you guys like our podcast, obviously we're hitting our steam a little bit late in the season, but we would really appreciate it if you leave us a rating and review. We're going to be reading off every single one of those. Once again, moving forward. So yeah, just look out for that. It's really important for us. It's really impactful. And we don't charge you guys for this. So if our little payment is the little rating and review, you'd be helping us tremendously, because we do see a significant view boost every single time someone leaves a rating and review. So Once again, thank you guys for those of you who have actually done that.
Yeah, no, thank you all for the continued support, really, with the podcast and the YouTube and everything else moving forward. And we're just going to keep on pumping out a lot more content now that we're really fully back in the swing of things. So just keep your eyes and ears glued to our channels.
Yes. Thank you guys so much. Bear down.
Bear down.